What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to Week 15 of my weekly NFL Pick Show for the 2013-2014 NFL season. Week 14, very successful week for yours truly. Straight up against the spread and over-under. Had a real good week last week, so we're going to go into the Week 14 results before we get to the Week 15 picks. You know how we do. Week 14 results, we're going to start with the top two against the spread and over-under. We'll start with the over-under as we typically do. I split them up. I went 1-1 with the over-under. I told you to take over 49 points in Denver and Tennessee. Denver cleared that on their own. I told you Denver was going to whoop that ass. And I also told you to take 45.5, take the over 45.5 in New Orleans, Carolina. That one didn't quite work out. New Orleans is one of these tricky teams. They got a real good offense, but sometimes that balloons the number just a bit too much. And that's what happened here. It was very, very close to 45.5, but that didn't work out. It stayed under. So it was 1-1 on the over-unders in Week 14. Gives me a record of 12, 15, and 1 on the season. But going over to against the spread, got them both. Told you to take KC -3. That worked out in a big bad way. And I told you to take Arizona -6. And that also worked out. So big ups to those picks there. 2-0 last week, 15-13 now on the season. Starting to look a whole heck of a lot better compared to where I was 3-4 weeks ago. And if you do that math there, combined against the spread and over-under, I now am 27, 28, and 1. Only a single game under 500. So we're going to look to get over the 500 hump this week. Taking a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze, I swept them again this week, but if you remember what the picks were from last week, you'll know that I did that by nothing short of some miracle. I told you in the bronze game to take Denver over Tennessee again. I told you Denver was going to whoop that ass. They did, 51-28, so the bronze worked out. Silver pick, I told you to take New England over Cleveland. That only worked out by some miraculous series of events that, whether you agreed with the pass interference call or not, it set it up, and New England ends up barely scraping by winning that game. In the gold pick, I told you to take Baltimore to beat Minnesota. That was another one. That 6 lead changes in the fourth quarter, like just insane. Baltimore wins that game 29-26. And in the platinum pick, I told you to take KC over Washington. Kind of sad to see Washington Stadium basically empty for the second half. KC romped in that game 45-10. So I got the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. Ratings on the year: platinum 13-1, gold 12-2, silver 10-4, bronze 11-3. Overall, in Week 14, I pulled in a record of 11-5 straight up, 128 up, 79 down, and 1 tie on the season, still sitting in the 87th percentile on Yahoo. We go to the private pick'em. I'm still in third place out of 22, 1,145 out of 1,657 possible confidence points, a clip still of 69%. And in Week 14, I raked in a very respectable 107 of 136 possible confidence points, an overall clip of 79%. Was not good enough to win the week. Shout out to our Week 14 winner, the rich get richer, Jayshon McCutownler for MVP, with one better rate than I did, 12-4, 119 of 136 possible confidence points, a clip of 88%. A real good week for Jayshon McCutownler, coming from behind with the Monday Nighter, put 16 points on his Bears. Bears put on a show in the Monday night game. Jayshon McCutownler for MVP also still leads the league overall, 133 up, 74 down, and 1, so 5 either way from me. 1,176 of 1,657 possible confidence points for an overall season clip of 71%. So shout out to Jayshon McCutownler for MVP for being our Week 14 winner and still our overall leader. But that was all in the past. Let's look to the present. Week 15 picks, let's get on them. We're going to start with the top two against the spread and over-under. Going to start with the over-under plays, of course. The over was 11-5 last week. I'm going to keep riding that train. I got a couple more over plays to give you this week. My favorite OU play this week comes in the Philadelphia at Minnesota game. The number there is 51. I'm going to tell you to take the over. Two real good offenses, even though Minnesota doesn't have a whole lot to show for it in the wins and losses column this year. But their offenses are playing very well. There's a slight issue with Adrian Peterson, kind of tweaked an injury in the game last week, but from all reports, he should be good to go. We'll wait to see about that later on in the week. Even if he doesn't, Philadelphia's offense looked masterful in the snow last week against Detroit. Should be more favorable conditions this week. Minnesota might be a bit of a popular underdog play here where the game is in Minnesota, but for damn sure, take the over on that 51 points. That's my favorite OU play this week. My second favorite OU play this week comes in Chicago at Cleveland. The number here is 43.5. Chicago basically covered this number in the Monday Nighter. I know they're running on a short week here, but at the same time, the offense looking really, really good. Irregardless of who's playing quarterback, there's this constant, like, when is Jay Cutler coming back? But whether he comes back or doesn't come back, McCown is showing himself to be a more than capable quarterback after playing in I think the Arena League a couple of years ago, or just playing in some third-tier league a couple years ago, now to starting for the Chicago Bears, one of the more prestigious franchises in football, and he's playing really, really well. So 100% take the over in this one because Cleveland's defense, honestly, the defense, I still don't see anything much to sneeze at here, and Chicago's defense is still underperforming. So take the over here, 43.5, more than manageable for these two teams. Now we'll look at the top two against the spread plays this week. Again, I hit both of my against the spread plays last week, so I got a favorite for you, and I've got an underdog. My favorite ATS play this week comes in the San Francisco game. San Francisco is on the road, going into Tampa Bay, favored by 5. Was that San Francisco-Seattle game not a thing of beauty to watch? Just as a football fan, what a great game that was. And both of those teams showed that they are the classes of the NFC, because that was a back-and-forth game. That was hard-hitting. That was smash-mouth football. And San Francisco looked great. Seattle looked great. And San Francisco's going into Tampa Bay, who's been obviously very hit-and-miss, been playing better as of late. Mike Glennon has been playing quite well at quarterback. But at this, Tampa Bay's got nothing to play for here. They can kind of play a spoiler role because San Francisco, if you look at it, San Francisco, right now they hold a wild card spot, but it's not like they've got nobody breathing down their neck because there's a couple of teams there that are within striking distance of them. So San Francisco has won nothing yet. This needs to be a statement game for the 49ers. I think it's going to be. So at -5, less than a touchdown, I'll take that all day. So I'm going to take San Francisco -5. And my second favorite ATS play this week comes in the Thursday Nighter. The Denver Broncos playing at home to the San Diego Chargers. Denver favored at home by 10.5 points. But I think that's too many. I think this is a divisional game that these two teams play consistently tight. San Diego's defense isn't the greatest, but in terms of actual points allowed, they are in the top half of the NFL. They give up a lot of yards. They're like a Baltimore defense. They're a bend but don't break kind of thing, although this year Baltimore's kind of broken a little bit. But they're a bend but don't break defense because they're only giving up, I think, the 11th most points per game in the NFL. Yes, they're playing what's probably the best offense maybe in league history, but Denver can kind of put it into cruise control here. There's no reason for them to rout the Chargers. So I honestly think San Diego's offense, which has been playing very, very well this year, can keep enough pace with Denver. The 10.5 points is just too many. So in San Diego at Denver, I'm going to tell you to take San Diego plus 10.5. Now we'll go to the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for Week 15. The bronze pick, where I mentioned I am 11-3, the Indianapolis Colts playing at home to the Houston Texans. Obviously, Houston, I believe, has thrown in the towel for this season, obviously firing Gary Kubiak a while back, and Indy still has something to play for. Yes, they clinched their division, but they still have something to play for. They still need to go out and make a statement to the team, whatever team they meet in the playoffs, whether probably be in the first round, but whoever they meet in the playoffs, they need to make the statement that, hey, especially if this game is in our barn, but if you come up and play the Indianapolis Colts, it's going to be a rough go for you, and they need to make a statement on a team like Houston. They still have a lot to play for here. I think they're going to show it at home, so I'm going to take Indianapolis to beat Houston in a big, bad way. That's the bronze pick. My silver pick, where I'm 10-4 on the year, the New Orleans Saints going into St. Louis to play the Rams. Rams, nothing to play for. New Orleans, still got plenty to play for because they still got Carolina breathing down their necks even though they beat Carolina. So the Carolina's still there. They still need to worry about them. So I honestly think New Orleans, even though the game's on the road, I think New Orleans is going to go into St. Louis and just curb stomp the Rams. The Rams are such a tough team for me to call. Like, at the beginning of the season, I thought Carolina was the hardest team for me to call. St. Louis is starting to get there because they have a team that can overperform and has overperformed this season and last season in certain games, but it's almost impossible to predict when they're going to overperform and when they're going to underperform. So flip of the coin here, but I think it's going to be an underperformance for the Rams, and going in there with New Orleans played much, much better in their last game than they did in that embarrassment in Seattle. So I'm going to take New Orleans on the road to curb stomp the Rams. That's the silver pick. Gold pick, where I am 12-2 on the year. Game we already talked about, Tampa Bay playing host to San Francisco. Should be a statement game for San Francisco. They have earned nothing yet. They still got to play their way in. So San Francisco in a beatdown in Tampa Bay on the road. That's my gold pick. And the platinum pick, where I am 13-1, the Carolina Panthers playing host to the New York Jets. Jets can barely play football as it is, much less on the road. All of the Jets' great performances this year, I believe, have come at home. So they're going on the road here, facing Carolina. Carolina still has only given up, I believe, one 20-point performance to an opposing offense at home, and I believe that was the Patriots. Again, Jets ain't no Patriots, so Carolina at home, going to run away with this all day. This game's going to be over by halftime. That's going to be the platinum pick. Carolina at home to beat the Jets. Now let's take a look at the rest of my Week 15 plays in the National Football League. Straight up, here they come. That's the Week 15 show for you folks. Comments, hate, and love, you know where they go. Comments section below. Time to get back into a little fantasy football talk here. We are fantasy football playoff time across the board now. I had 2 playoff matches last week, and I had 2 last week of the regular season. We're actually going to start this week in the YouTube Prognosticators League. I had a big 20-point victory over Christina from Yes What I Say Goes to close out the season, which somehow miraculously locked up the #1 overall seed for me. I'm not 100% sure how that happened. It looked to me like Guru should have gotten the #1 seed. But in any case, I'm going to take it all day long. But that gives me a matchup with Sean Ryan. I am 1-1 against Sean Ryan this year. He hung one of my 3 losses on me early in the season. Sean currently sits as a 19-point favorite in this matchup, so I got some work to do if I'm going to move on here in these playoffs. Going to be a real tight matchup there against Sean Ryan. Now it's time to look at the Yahoo leagues. The 10-team league that I've been in for quite some time. I ended up with an 8-5 overall record on the season. 4th place out of 10. Of course, did make the playoffs. Have a matchup this week with the #1 ranked Team Bring It. He is the commissioner of the league. He ended up with the top seed in the league, a record of 11-2. This is going to be a real tight matchup here. I'm just looking at it here on my phone. Taking a look at the projections, I am actually a favorite in this matchup, surprisingly enough, but I believe Tommy beat me at least once this year, if not twice. So that is going to be a real tough matchup there, 4 versus 1, but we're looking forward to it. The 14-team league that I just entered this year ended with a season record of 10-4, 4th place out of 14. That leads me to a matchup with #5 ranked Busta Kaepernick. That's actually quite a good name. We're just going to take a look at the matchup here. I am actually a dog in this matchup. I'm a 13-point underdog in this game, so I got some work to do there. I'm hoping, beyond hope, that maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back this week, because if he comes back this week, it's going to help me out a whole lot here in a couple of these matchups. But now it's time to move on to my league, my commissioned league that I've commissioned for quite some time. I ended up with the top seed, record of 10-3 on the year. This is, of course, 2nd week of the playoffs. I'm I'm the number 1 seed playing the number 5 seed Ocean Breakers, and I'm actually a huge underdog in this matchup as well. So fingers crossed that a couple of these matchups are going to work out in my favor here. Really badly need Aaron Rodgers to come back this week, so I'm hoping that he does. We'll give you an update on what happened with my fantasy teams on next week's video. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. How are your fantasy teams doing? Let me know that in the comments section below as well. Thank you for watching the Week 15 video. We'll see you back here next week for the penultimate week of the NFL season, Week 16.